Well, it's Friday, which means we take a look at the week that was on social media. With me this week, Christelle Du Toit, production editor for SABC Digital News. Christelle, good to have you with us again. So let's start with something that I think should be on the social media every day. The launch of the 16 Days of Activism campaign against no violence against women and children.
Absolutely. We saw this launch towards the end of the week, and it's actually been a very interesting example where media houses will look and say social media is destroying traditional media houses. It has actually offered an opportunity to traditional media houses to enhance their product. To give an example, we're looking at stories such as how do we teach and educate our girl children to not end up in relationships that are abusive because they're financially dependent on a partner. You can't say that in 140 characters.
Yeah.
So we've seen through this that social media is being used to push people back to traditional platforms who then use the power of social media to promote it. And we've actually seen a very nice interaction happening between that. And it had the 16 days hashtag trended from the beginning. So yeah, hopefully we keep the momentum going.
And do you think a hashtag like this, something on social media, contributes positively or to getting the message out there more? Because as I said, this is something that needs to be on our social Twitter platforms every day throughout the year.
I think the challenge with the hashtag is they speak of something called clicktivism. You know, it's one thing being an activist and clicking on something, but does that translate into action?
Yeah.
We've seen, for example, with Fees Must Fall, that it went beyond clicktivism into actual action. And it speaks again to the interaction between social media, traditional media, and our communities. It's not enough to have it trending on Twitter, you're quite right. You have to have other people pick it up, take that momentum forward, and translate it into actual action and changing behaviors and changing patterns and educating. I think is a very important element of that.
And it's that changing behaviors and changing patterns, because we all know there's a problem, but it's to actually get people to do something. What can we do to solve this problem?
Yeah, and I think information is key. I think social media is very powerful in that you can get key messages across. If you're very smart in terms of how you plan it, look at when people are online. Push your messages to go through then, and push them then to platforms where they can get more depth. Your traditional media journalist role, for example, has changed completely. It's no longer to break the story. The story is out there already. It's to provide depth, to provide context, to provide value add. But certainly I think education is a key element in addressing that kind of scourge.
And then just staying with this whole element of what social media does for a particular story. I mean, we've got stories here, for example, the Pick It Up strike. How has social media influenced some of these other big stories that we've seen? We've also got strikes at Parliament continuing for weeks now. So it's interesting to see how that plays out on social media.
So, for example, the various strikes that you see, through the use of technology, you can bring on your website all of those protest stories into one page. So if you go to the SABC News page, you'll see, for example, at a place that says protest, you click there, it shows you the entire big picture. But with the Pick It Up strike, for example, we had a producer there, Naomi Motloong, who was doing Vines. It's a little 6-second Twitter video. And it takes you straight into that story as it's developing. Your radio stations can then pick up on that copy. You can quickly put a website story together. The TV guys can use that video content, and you get a circle going of content that is available on whichever platform your audience is on, and your story is just so much more valid and lives just so much longer.
And then something like the Pope on his historic visit to Africa. I mean, surely that's been quite a trend on social media.
It definitely has. There's been some security issues around the Pope and getting to him, and cell phones being switched off. But what we've done, all the videos, we've got correspondents in Kenya and in Uganda and everywhere. So all of those have been put on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is very, very active. So if people go to that, they are bound to find that content.
So that's youtube.com/SABC News.
It's actually the third busiest channel and most successful YouTube channel in South Africa. So it's definitely worth following, and it will have all the content around the Pope from the various angles on that channel.
And then staying with global stories, we've seen quite a lot happening on the global fight against terrorism and world foreign relations in general. So tell us about what's happening on social media. Are people still taking to social media to air what their opinions about what's happening in the fight against terror.
They are, but you know, in social media you find a lighter side, and I think when people are so inundated with such intense heavy news, people tend to turn to social media to just say enough. So we've seen a very interesting trend in foreign countries where instead of tweeting with terms like terror and ISIS and terms that you can't really use online, it's got danger, people are tweeting pictures of their cats, and they're tweeting pictures of their cats dressed like soldiers, and they're tweeting pictures of their cats with weapons, and just saying, you know, let's see this in context, and kind of taking a breather online. And I think social media definitely allows for that. You know, we still have to be careful what we say, but you can kind of take a bit of a breather and just say, let's place this in context and take a break.
Okay. And then obviously we can't go through everything that's been trending in such a short time. So let's go briefly now through some other big stories of the week. I mean, the weather, the drought, the heat is still something that we can't really escape from. Also, something a little bit more light, the launch of the next Bond movie. There's also Black Friday today, so a lot happening on social media.
I think, for example, in terms of news-wise, Kusata, the SABC has covered it extensively this week, and all of that is available online. We've placed that there. The Bond movie, I think, will create a stir online. There's an interesting interracial aspects to this Bond movie, and he's got an older liaison, let's call it that, in this movie. So that should definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
Black Friday is an American tradition. So what we did, we put a poll on Twitter saying, should we be supporting these American traditions? And we're giving options like, yes, no, we need more information, and I like this one. Because we've seen queues at shops and people
quite a
hitting
few
people.
Retailers have taken on this tradition.
And then on a more serious note, it's the last day for tax submissions. I don't know if you've done your tax submission.
I have.
Wonderful. Because, if you're going to stand in the queues there, it's not fun. SARS has been on a drive to make it easier to do it online. So you can choose to pay someone or do it yourself, but it has to be done today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's where we leave it for today. Christelle, thank you very much. That's Christelle Du Toit, production editor for SABC Digital News.
Thank you.